This is my 2022 Ford Maverick. After a year of waiting, it's finally here. I've been driving it for about 6 weeks now. This is what I think. There's definitely some pros, but there's definitely some pretty big cons. So you should probably watch this to the end so you can see exactly what you need to know before you go and buy the new Ford Maverick. I was able to find Whitmoyer Ford in Mount Joy, PA, and they were able to sell me this truck at MSRP, no markups. You just had to pay for the sales tax and stuff. They were awesome guys down there. This truck, fully equipped in this XLT all-wheel drive package, was $28,000 and some change. If you wanted the brother of this truck, like in a Tacoma or a Frontier or something like that, you're upwards of like $45,000. Now I understand it's not a real truck, it's a unibody. It's a glorified Ford Fusion, but actually is really good and really versatile with the things that it can do, especially for the price. Even in the middle of the road package like the XLT, you can still get some cool wheels. It comes with Continental tires. It has the LED lights. I didn't get the big fancy ones like in the Lariat, but it has really nice bright headlights with automatic dimming high beams, which is cool. It's not quite as responsive as some of the higher end. I noticed that those are kind of buggy. You know, you get the cool color options here. The Area 51 paint blue is what I got here. You know, the plastic trim, the door handles feel kind of cheap. You know, walking to the back, we have really good storage space. Ford was able to get a drop-in bed liner for me. I get all kinds of cool places to tie down my load. You know, it has all the wiring here for the trailer. I pull a small landscape trailer with it. Towing is pretty impressive with that extra turbo boost that it gives you. And I do have the trailer braking package, which comes in that 4K tow package. 4K tow package, to me, seems a little sketchy because I'm not there yet. It's a light truck. I have a pontoon boat that actually weighs less than 4,000 pounds. And the thing is giant in comparison to the truck. I just can't bring myself to tow with it because it is a light truck. And to like tow something that weighs more than the truck just doesn't seem right. So the big thing with this is you can't get an all-wheel drive system with the hybrid model. I needed the all-wheel drive system, so this is just the regular 2.0 Ecoboost 4-cylinder, and it actually does pretty well. The all-wheel drive system isn't as good as like, you know, a Subaru or like an Audi Quattro system, but it does seem to be pretty planted to the road. It does well in like the snow conditions, and overall I've been really happy. Bed size is actually really good. In that last video you saw I had that Nissan Frontier with the short bed. I would actually argue this bed is comparable in size and it almost feels bigger. Has more places to tie down my load, and unlike the Nissan, I can get a bed liner for it. Hauled windows with it today. Yesterday I was hauling doors. We're doing some home renovations, and it actually hauls pretty good. Another weird pet peeve is I got the 4K tow package, which has the trailer hitch and all that good stuff and the wiring, but when you get that, it moves your license plate off to the right, and I don't know, it just feels wrong. I feel like there needs to be something here. Definitely more complicated than that Nissan Frontier video I did a couple months ago. Yeah, that's a mess. It's a noisy motor. It's a 4-cylinder. It has a high pressure fuel pump, so it's going to sound like it's got a valve tick, but it's, you know, really just this high pressure pump making a lot of noise. You know, the DIY maintenance doesn't seem awful because it's a 4-cylinder, but I don't know. This looks like a mess to me. The turbo looks like it would be relatively accessible, you know, belts and stuff, but I mean, sure, the battery's right there, the air filter's right there. You know, you can check your coolant, you can check your washer fluid and stuff like that, but like, this is a mess. Holy smokes. Yeah, so like another thing of like build quality, we'll call it, like there's like welding splatter here that they just kind of like painted over. Like these are some really not great welds on both sides. I'm sure they're structural, but you know, most of this truck is built in like Hermosillo, Mexico. And you know, I'm sure they have to do their best to cut costs, but you know, he'll show you what this stuff looks like. So because I have the XLT package, I just have lock, unlock, and alarm on my key. So I was like, crap, I wish I really had a remote start. And it was actually a pleasant surprise when the salesman told me that I can just get the FordPass app to remote start the truck. And like we said before, that FordPass app sucks, but it's at least an option to have so you don't have to step up to that XLT luxury package or to the Lariat package to get that remote start. So the app's not great, and it's super slow, it's super buggy. Sometimes it starts, sometimes it doesn't. And it's as simple as just holding down the start button here and waiting and waiting and waiting.
One eternity later.
And waiting. And waiting. And then it just honks or something. I've learned that if you don't close the app completely on your phone before reopening it, it won't work. It still thinks you're trying to do something in like the previous session. Interior is equipped pretty nicely. I'm going to comment on some of my opinions later. You know, I have the trailer brake here for my 4K towing package. Like I said, I still have the seats covered because I'm weird and I'm often filthy, and I just can't bring myself to, like, I don't know, like peel that Band-Aid yet. I still have some residue from the window sticker because that was on up until like a couple days ago. But the ergonomics of the handle are nice. You know, the blue and the black is kind of like an off-putting color combo. But overall, you know, entry and access is actually quite accessible. We have a young child. She's in a rear-facing seat. I'm also very short, and so I don't have as much space in the back as I was hoping. I would say it's comparable to that, like, you know, an extended cab pickup truck, to be honest with you. The back of her seat is all the way here. You can see her seat base. And like I said, I'm like 5'9". So if you're a guy or gal, I mean, you'd have to put the baby seat or something on the other side and push that passenger seat up a little bit. But overall, I love the storage under the seats. I like how comfortable the seats are. Just two normal adults have told me it's relatively comfortable back there. And because the way that this roofline is shaped, there's actually a good bit of headspace here. If you look at some of these new comparable trucks like the Santa Cruz, it's all shaped kind of cool and it looks cool on paper, but you know, you don't have that headspace like you do here in the Maverick. So you have several drive modes to pick from. You have the normal mode, you have a trailer towing mode, you have a slippery mode, you have an eco mode, and you have the sport mode. I don't really think it does much of anything to the motor. In like the eco mode and the slippery mode, I think they're exactly the same, to be honest with you. It just kind of kills the throttle input a little bit, so you can't just like really take off. The sport mode, I think, makes the throttle maybe a little more responsive and holds the shifts a little bit longer, but it's not like in the cool Mercedes AMGs where you like push a button and the exhaust flap open up and then, you know, modifies the boost pressure. It's not doing that here. You have a traction control button, and you have this like auto hold button. So like if you're on stop and go traffic, you can put your foot on the brake and you can actually take your foot off the brake. The vehicle will stay where it is, which is kind of cool, but it's still kind of like ominous. I don't trust it. It has this auto stop feature where the engine shuts off when you come to a complete stop. You can turn it off, but you can't turn it off permanently. You have to push this button every time you get in the car, which is such a pain. Some of the other cars with like electric power steering and stuff, you can still like steer while the thing's shut down, but on these things, it shuts it all down. So the steering's stiff and everything, and it's a pain in the neck. First thing I do, boom, hop in, push that button. So the knobs here are for your HVAC, pretty simple. The one thing I don't like though is the temperature adjust is obviously, you know, hot and cold, but it shows the temperature on the screen, but not here. And it's like there's a super big lag delay between the two, and it just kind of feels cheap and buggy. Not an abundance of plugs. I mean, you have your cigarette outlet here and USB Type-C, regular USB, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's not like they're loaded everywhere. I don't think there's any in the back. There's a cigarette lighter back there, but there's no other USB plugs. It's not like a minivan where there's like 100 of them. Another thing I don't like, the XLT package only comes with this awful orange trim. It's in this navy pier package. I'm like a weirdo and I'm like trying to protect my seats, but it has like orange piping in the seats and the orange grab handles and orange trim here. I didn't want it. I think it's god awful, but you can only switch it out if you get like a Lariat or you get an XL. These are black rubber in an XL, and I'd love to trade them out, but Ford's like super behind on building these things, so they're not supplying parts to dealers yet. So I just have to live with it or just throw it out or change them or spray paint them or I don't know what. But the blue and the orange is like really a bad color combo. I kind of like the ergonomic of the grab handles. It feels good. It's like the first car I've ever seen that has like the open handle, and when my wife has those giant water bottles that she leaves in here all the time, you know, there's plenty of space to put them down in the door or like umbrellas or something like that. Fit and finish is what you'd expect from a vehicle that's $20,000. It's like, it's hard. Ryan behind the camera says this dashboard looks like a rock climbing wall. He's not wrong. I kind of like the design, but it feels, I don't know, it feels like a way I'd modify a car when I was like 16 and I was like building something on Forza. Overall, it feels like it's put together well enough to be a reliable car for a pretty long time. Overall, the power is like actually really good. I was really surprised when I bought it. I was like really happy that they didn't put that 3-cylinder in it that they're putting in those Bronco Sports. So this like 2-liter EcoBoost seems to do pretty good. It's really noisy. It has that like direct injection. You can tell they cut corners on like sound deadening in here. You can hear like rock chips going down the road. The exhaust sounds kind of loud. And you can hear like all the whooshy noises from the turbo, which is like kind of cool. And I guess it's what you can expect from a car that's like $20,000, but it definitely makes it feel a little on the cheap side, a little less like refined than even like a base model pickup truck. Acceleration's pretty good. You can tell it makes a lot of noise to get it where it wants to go. But once the turbo spools up in like maybe 3rd or 4th gear, she really starts to putt along, which is pretty impressive. From a stop, it's pretty good, but it feels like a light vehicle, so definitely makes the acceleration pretty fun. I think the car market has been dying for a small pickup truck. Remember the old Volkswagen Rabbit trucks or the little Ford Rangers and stuff like that? They were awesome, the little Chevy Love trucks. They were super popular. I don't know why we lost them. And even the small pickup truck market a couple years ago were giant. The Colorados, the Rangers, they were huge. Now that Ford rolled this out in the Hyundai Santa Cruz, I'm thinking they got a new market segment, and you're seeing companies like Subaru and Toyota with their new small pickup truck coming out soon. Everybody's trying to hop on board. So all in all, the Ford Maverick's an awesome truck for the price point. Again, it's not a real truck, but for what it can do, and for most of the users out there, I think it will perfectly suffice. But just be aware, they're doing a couple things to trim that price down so you can have it more affordable. So there's little stuff, like I said, the noise and the build quality and some of the questionable design choices and, you know, the build quality coming from Mexico. So just know that when you're getting into it. But for a truck that carries a really respectable warranty, what do you got to lose?